Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Catherine Parsley, the practice coach, and today I am with the incredible tour de force talent Felix Jarrar, who's going to be our audition pianist expert and is going to be spilling all the secrets about what we should be doing with our pianists in an audition setting. So Felix, please introduce yourself and tell us what we should know about you.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Felix Jarrar. My pronouns are he, him, his. I live in New York City, in Washington Heights specifically, and I am a composer, pianist, coach, and I primarily work in the field of opera as a collaborative pianist, as a composer of opera, and also with opera companies regionally. I coach and play at Manus. I also am the assistant music director for a company in Vermont called Barn Opera. And yeah, I've been this past season having my compositions performed from LA all the way to Italy, and then as of recently in Boston several times. So yeah, I'm doing the classical music, new music, opera thing.
Well, bravo to you. That is a huge list of accomplishments in such a short amount of time. And certainly you've played for enough auditions to be able to tell us,
Mhm.
some of these behind the scenes secrets. So I'm going to start with a question that I've always wondered. Um, how should a singer prepare the music for a pianist in an audition setting? There's lots of information floating around, but from a pianist to us singers, what is honestly your preference?
So, when you're doing an opera audition and you're bringing a binder, because I'm going to speak about preparing a binder as opposed to an iPad because that's also becoming more common. So, if you're bringing your binder, it's really important to have your music labeled clearly. Some people like to put music in those plastic slide things. Don't do that because they're very slippery for page turning, especially if they're sight reading or it's a piece that's not super well known. So it just makes it like super easy. In terms of editions, please make sure you have a good edition that's, from 20th century on is great, but if it's an old edition, you make sure the Xerox is super clear because if you're doing a more obscure aria, usually the piano vocal editions from the 19th century have a lot of errors and they're very hard to read. And there's a lot of stylistic notation things that, unless you're familiar with how it's was done then, it's just going to be very confusing. So that's what I would say with that. In terms of what to mark in the score, please do not write your IPA and give it to a pianist when you're doing that because there's a lot of other things you could write. You could having a tempo and also like in general, if you have different tempo preferences, drawing a squiggly line means to kind of slow down and or just like be col canto or something. And then if you're having the arrow, it means push ahead, go through, for like those long Mozart phrases or something, or that we and it's really good to just touch base with the pianist about that too. But having the music like that very clear is like gonna be, in some cases it's gonna just be really helping the presentation so that the audition can just be, a clear and clean, clear process.
I like it. That's all I needed to know. I can do that, and I hope all of our singers can too. All right, so what are the three big mistakes that you often see singers make in an audition that affects their hireability, whether it is with you, the pianist, or just in general?
So, I think one thing people should remember in this business is that at the end of the day, we are all human, and the people hiring you are hiring the person as well as the artist. So, it's really important to present yourself with cordiality, and for example, you can do that simply by thanking your pianist and making sure the panel can hear that, because as soon as you leave the room, they will comment that you did not thank the pianist, because that is something that's expected as just as a courtesy, with doing, a collaboration, as it will. Because basically, this is like the most fast version of a collaboration in the business, an audition, coming into a pianist you've never met and doing that. And because of that, it goes into my second point, which is touch based on tempo, even just lightly hum. Do not snap your fingers. Don't conduct me. Like just lightly hum it, just in or give an idea, and just even note something. Oh, and also I forgot to mention this in music. Please write in your cadenzas. Like please write in your cadenzas or your ornaments. That's a very big one. I do a lot of work in coaching bel canto repertoire, and so knowing how to do that clearly, that's really important. And it's honestly even just worth sometimes hiring someone to make an engraving for you and doing that just to make it clear, or you can paste into the score. But back to the hireability, and then the last thing is, you know, the last thing that I would say is that you should just kind of be able to show your skills with how you can lead something, because you're going to really have to lead. So, for example, I think I have a pretty good gauge on tempos for the standard repertoire. Is it going to be perfect for every singer just randomly picking out of a hat a tempo? No. So, like, for example, like you don't need to stop an audition if the tempo is wrong. Simply come in very strong with your tempo. It'll be off for a measure. And if the pianist knows what they're doing, they'll readjust. This is so it just that's I think the third point. I think those 3 points of hireability actually like go a long way, and just the piano remembering that, and the pianist will also comment on that. So like I know. So
Wonderful. And what are two pet peeves of pianists that really do affect you guys? So I know you've already mentioned don't use the slicks because, as you mentioned, they are literally slick to the touch. I've also heard never use staples. So can you give
oh
us two
oh
more?
okay. So
It's
don't use staples and don't use tape. So don't you because like in Israel in particular, when the singers study there, they're taught to tape their music, and then so you'll get like a 10-page aria like on your piano. And so that's one thing to definitely do. And also, this is specific to people who do crossover. You're gonna also do a lot if it's like golden age musicals. There's a lot of conductor scores that are really terrible to read. Like there are clean engravings, so especially for those, just make sure you don't use those, because if you're in an audition, they're near impossible to cipher.
good to know. I will never use those. Thank you so much for letting me know that. All right, last question. Well, not really, but almost last question. What is one thing that a singer did in an audition that really stood out as classy that every singer can do?
Ooh, that's a really great question. I'll do this respecting people's privacy, but in general, can I say a general comment for the ones where I remember, where they collaborate and they're not afraid to like lead or something, because I definitely always will try to give what the music's there and also communicate and be a partner, because it's not just you showing yourself as how we collaborate together. That's why it's like more than just like you doing your thing, even in something as simple as a Mozart, there's a million nuances, which are, and harmonic inflections. And if I'm going to lead with that, it's nice to have a colleague that will respond, and vice versa. So because feeling nerves it's really easy to feel nerves when you're playing an audition for someone if they're very nervous, and totally understand that auditioning is a whole psychology. But the ones that I remember, it's just like you just have fun and you just like your game to just make music together, you know?
That's wonderful advice. Well, thank you very much. I think that's something we can all apply or at least aim to, and that will make the collaboration in just those few moments all the sweeter. Now,
Yeah.
sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
and oh no, no, like, and then sometimes after those auditions, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was so fun. I loved like getting to like collaborate and make that like scene happen and stuff." And yeah, it's just so yeah, I can only because there's a lot of ways of enjoying the collaborations, in the room, which are hard to because it's such a there's so many gatekeeping things in terms of auditioning. But that's the one thing you're able to do once you get in the room is like collaborate with the pianist and make music.
Yep, I personally love auditions because it's like I have a captive audience for 5 minutes and I get to
Hmm.
go make some really cool art that they can't escape. They can't walk out from. So I personally love them, and I think this will go a long way to helping everybody else at least enjoy auditions a little bit more and make sure to respect our incredible pianists.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally, absolutely.
So clearly you are a wonderful talent and a tour de force. How can people get in touch with you and work with you?
Um, so the easiest way is through my website. It's www.felixjarrarmusic.com. and you can find information there. I'm on Instagram under the username the underscore original underscore Fifi, and Fifi spelled Fefe. You can find me on all platforms using that handle. And yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I have a series of reels posting music making I do on my Instagram. I do a lot of concerts. I concertize a lot. I just played this summer 16 programs. So definitely, come to a concert. I have an upcoming Halloween opera festival with three of my operas, October 21st in Midtown, 9 p.m. with the Emerging Artists Theater. So that's my next show in New York for people who see this who are in New York City. And I can share the link with you so you can distribute it. But yeah.
We would love that. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and watching and listening to our amazing audition pianist expert, Felix Jarrar, tell us exactly what we should be doing. All right. Thank you very much and have a beautiful day.